if her goal is not to make you happy as well, you're going to spend the rest of your life just trying to make her happy. And that's why I push back. It's like, she has to want you to be happy just as much. And that happy wife, happy life always talks about her being happy. And I know men who, I was talking to one dude and he's just like, Ferg, when I realized the only way I'm ever going to be happy is not to be with her. Like that's a deep conversation because she cannot make him happy. What up is Three Brothers No Sense, the world-known Three Brothers No Sense. I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg, joined my co-host, Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, it's been a crazy week, man. Tell them what's on your minds.
Did something happen? Did something happen last week?
Yeah, Tom Brady retired.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, all right.
Yeah. Tom Brady retired.
Okay. Here's the thing. I was watching news, man, and is there another Three Brothers No Sense out there? Or were they talking about us?
I think they were talking about us.
I think they were talking about us, right?
If there's another Three Brothers No Sense, I know there's not another Buff on Three Brothers No Sense.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yo, no, when I read the articles though, and they like literally put Buff in quotations on the articles, that was hilarious to me.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back. So what we're talking about, for all the people who this might be the first time listeners or may have missed a show or two, we recently did a interview with Officer Eugene Goodman from the Capitol Hill Police Department, and he actually took our show worldwide. We got a lot of publicity. A lot of people mentioned us, and at that episode, it was fun to do. And that's not the reason we did it, but we just didn't know it was going to get the notoriety and take off the way it did. So,
yeah, neither did he. I don't think he probably wouldn't have done it had he known it was going to blow up like that. I think one of the reasons he came on, besides being my friend, is that, hey, it's a podcast. We're almost like a local mom and pop store. So I can do that, talk to them, and that'll be it. But nah, man, yeah. It blew up. It blew up. So I'm gonna let Rozzy jump in there, man. Besides Eugene Goodman, man, I definitely want to thank him again. I can't thank him enough for coming on the show, us being mentioned on every major network, every major print newspaper. That was huge for us, and we hope to grow on that. If you start listening to this show because of that episode, thank you for joining us. We hope to keep you. Real quick, let me ask you guys this question real quick. Do you think, because there's a documentary on Showtime now called We Need to Talk About Cosby, and I don't want to give it away. I've watched the first 2 episodes, but one of the questions that was asked to the director, I don't want to mispronounce his name, Camus Bell, he's a comedian. They asked him, do you think Cosby's show should still be on television? He gave like this long thought out answer, but he didn't answer the question. Do you brothers think the Cosby Show should still be on television, given what you know now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think you definitely have to separate the art from the artist. We've had that conversation a couple times about canceling and why we cancel and when you choose to cancel. And I feel like you can cancel people without canceling their art or their music or whatever, and start picking and choosing if it presents a positive aspect, then why not keep running it, right? Like the Cosby Show was huge. The same reason why, I talked about, I think it's okay to listen to R. Kelly music now because R. Kelly's off the street. He doesn't, the reason why I was boycotting him was because I needed to take his platform away. Yeah. Well, he's off the street now. He's not doing that anymore. So now let everybody else that was associated with that art eat. Right? Mm-hmm. Because they can get those royalty checks. They can do all of that. It's good music, depending on, there's some songs that I'm not going to listen to, but, for the most part, it's good music. Yeah. Same with Cosby Show. There's some things that, like, oh, that's kind of awkward. Maybe a couple episodes may have to get pulled. Yeah. But for the most part, I feel like the show in general is a very positive influence, and it introduced a lot of people to HBCUs, to, you could actually see yourself in a 2-parent household. It taught a lot of people about what a functioning household looks like. Conflict resolution, all kind of stuff that the Cosby Show did, man. So yeah, I definitely think it needs to be on, and it needs to continue to be on. And whatever Cosby needs to get, he gets. I know he just got released from jail or whatever, but even with that, man, I think there's more that's going to come on what he's going to pay and how he's going to pay what's happening.
You and I disagree on R. Kelly, but I hear you. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna say it like this: let He Without Scandal cancel the first show. It's if we hold that same ideal to almost every star, athlete, whatever. Mm-hmm. And in no way am I excusing their actions. I want justice.
Yeah.
But you separate the person, individual from the art and what they produce. When you talk about the impact that the Cosby Show made and still makes to this day, it was like real life Black Sesame Street.
Mm.
Risey was talking about the lessons that it taught us. It was the in your face and behind the scene lessons. It gave us things to strive for in a time where we didn't see, I'm not going to say we didn't see ourselves as Black people represented, which was, today compared to what it is today, we weren't represented as much. But at the same time, it was, you got goals, the whole relationship goals, things we saw, 2-3 years ago on social media. That's how we grew up. Like, I wanted to be a Cosby kid. I wanted to be Dr. Huxtable, the good guy and stuff like that. I wanted that household. I wanted the kids. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to make bacon burger dogs for my kids. Like, I wanted to be that person. And when you take that away, you take away a part of the American history. But, I don't want to, we got a full show to do. I don't want to get too far into it.
I was going to tell the listeners, we usually don't. I didn't want to talk about the actual documentary because I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it yet. But I definitely agree. And I'm somebody, I didn't even really rock with the Cosby Show like that. I watched episodes here and there, but it was not like a must-see everyday watch for me. I didn't care. I don't want to say I didn't care for it, but it just wasn't that funny to me. So just want to talk about that. And real quick for new listeners, please visit threebrothersnosense.com. Got some cool merch, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, mask, mugs, all that. I did want to throw that out there because there are a lot of people after listening to the Goodman episode. They wanted to find a way to support. Do we have merchandise? Yes, we do. So threebrothersnosense.com. Check that out.
Yeah, and I was actually going to talk about that, the uptick in merch orders and everything. Appreciate everybody that did go on after the episode and order. I saw a huge uptick in just merchandise orders and everything. So keep spreading the word, keep getting the word out. That's really what we do. Byron talked about on a previous episodes. We don't really make any money off of that. Really what it is we're just trying to get the word out about it. So we're selling them really, really close to cost. The other part about that is, it's wild, man. We've been on all of these podcasting platforms, Podbean, Radio Public, Inspire You on air, definitely on there. You can listen to us there, but everywhere, Amazon Music. And we've been on there, almost 3 years now. But all of a sudden, after the Goodman episode, everybody want to jump in our email box talking about how we can expand our podcast and this and that. I'm like, oh, y'all weren't worried about us expanding our podcast before this, but now all of a sudden you get you see our numbers go up. You're like, oh, we want to help you out on your podcast. I'm like, get out of here. So
back then they didn't know me. Now I'm hot.
They all know me.
You better take that publicity, Rozzy.
I mean, I'm still gonna do it, but I'm just saying.
I ain't gonna be smiling while I'm doing it.
I know. Take this funky email. It's kind of cool though. They want to feature us on like some new upcoming type things. So we'll be on some of their rankings and things like that. So if you do listen to us on Radio Public or Amazon Music or one of the other podcasting platforms, check us out. What I'm hoping for is to get News and Noteworthy on iTunes, or what is it, Apple Podcasts is what they changed it to. So Apple Podcasts, if you're listening, anybody from there, definitely News and Noteworthy. I want to get in that list. So, but that's all I got, man. Just excited about what happened last week and excited about what's going to happen going forward with the show. So hopefully, if you listened last week with the Goodman episode, definitely hope you're back this week, and we'll keep you guys entertained.
Well, Byron, I'm gonna give you a quick little shout out. So I don't know if Blackish is going to mention Eugene Goodman, but if they do decide to do that, they can also drop in a quick pub for Three Brothers No Sense podcast. You know, I would love to see Dre, you know, listen to the podcast on his way to work one day, you know, just throwing it out there. So make sure we tag Anthony Anderson in the show notes.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and Tracy Ellis Ross. Hey, all of them.
Hey, Tracy.
But no, bro, it was a good week, man. I don't want to live in the past too much. We want to keep entertaining the guests, but thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. For all our first time listeners, Brazzy and Buff mentioned it. We are on Inspire You on air now every Monday night, 10 p.m. Central. Please tune in. And for all our Inspire You listeners, if you listen to this episode and the past episode, we have over 100 episodes that you can catch up and get to know the brothers better and our guests better. You can go follow us on any of the podcast streaming sites you listen to. So, Apple, like Brazzy mentioned, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can go to any of those sites and listen to our podcast. For our listeners all across the world, across the U.S., please go back and listen to our other episodes. We have a lot of good content. We talk about everything under the sun. Some of them might be cringeworthy, but all of it's there just to make you think and to continue and inspire more dialogue amongst people. So that's why we do it. We want to get people talking. We don't have all the answers. Hell, we don't have any of the answers, really, to be honest. But what we do have is a voice, and we do have an opinion, and we do have the will to learn. So Three Brothers No Sense. What else going on with you fellas, man? I said Tom Brady retired. Did you see the article I sent? Drake is back in the news. Apparently there's a lawsuit against him for a rape case.
Is it Drake or Chris Brown?
Oh, excuse me. Chris Brown.
Okay.
Chris Brown, my bad. My bad, Drake.
I know.
My bad,
Drake. He already dealing with this hot sauce incident.
Yeah. When Chris Brown is back in the news, you know, I hate to see that go down like that. I hope. I don't even know what I hope. I you know, like, you hope it's not true, but then you hope nobody will make this kind of stuff up. So
yeah, that's always the hard part, man. Trying to figure out, you know, do you give them the benefit of the doubt or not, right? You can, and I think that's the other thing is you can believe the person, and still give the person the benefit of the doubt, or at least, you know, a presumption of innocence there. So you can say, okay, I think it's a serious thing. Let's investigate. Let's look into it. But I'm not going to automatically assume that the person did it. And that's a very hard thing to balance. In HR, we do it all the time, right? It's like I have to research this. I've got a sexual harassment case that came up. I have to take the person at their word, and I have to investigate, and I have to have that, but I also have to give that presumption of innocence to the other person, and give them a fair shake while I do the investigation. So that it's hard, man. It's hard to weigh it, but you know, it's one of those things that you have to be able to do both. Oh, the other thing that I did want to talk about though is, you guys know it's tax time. And every year around this time, we drop the video or Buff asks about, you know, helping people out with their taxes and their credit and everything else. So once again, I'm going to remind you guys 4 simple steps to get your credit right so that by the end of the year, you're good and you can go do whatever you want. Is take your tax return, take it to the bank, get a CD secured loan for that tax return, pay interest only on that CD secured loan all year long. So very, very low payments on it. So you create a payment history, you create a credit file, you are almost guaranteed to get the loan because it's CD secured. You walk in with $4,000 or $5,000, you walk back out with $4,000 or $5,000. So no big difference for you. And then you can take that money that you walked out with pay up anything that you have on slow pays, pay up anything on collections that's less or gonna not expire within 7 years. And then you should be good to go. By the end of the year, your credit should be up into the 657s very, very quickly. So take that as advice. Don't just go blow your tax return. Make sure that you're thinking long-term with this thing. But that CD secured loan is a great way to do that for anybody that's thinking about trying to get the credit right, as well as still needing that money.
Is getting a tax return good or bad?
I mean, it's definitely, you don't want to get a big tax return, but it's one of those things that, especially lower income people, the issue comes in that a lot of the money that they get back wasn't in taxes that they paid into the system. They're tax credits. So they will get a tax return. There's no way around it. It's not that they're getting taxes that they actually paid into the system back, like, some of your higher earners. Now, if you're making 6 figures or something, and you're getting a tax return, you probably need to look at what you're actually deducting. But when you're talking about, somebody making less than $20,000, $25,000 a year, what they're getting back is usually tax credits that can be paid out. So, child tax credit, things like that they're going to get a return because they probably didn't pay anything into taxes, and they're probably not getting anything back from like a tax return, but they're getting those credits back because we do redistribute wealth in America. People hate it. The right hates it, but when it comes down to it, that's a kind of fair way to kind of get some of that money back into those folks' hands.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared it up for some people, because I hear this all the time where people are so excited and want to, especially as they've started earning more money, and they're like, man, why didn't I get a tax return this year? Like, because you filed. I mean, you put your stuff down correctly. You don't want it, I'll take it though. If you got kids and all that stuff, get your tax credit, break even, and then get your credits.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's really what you want. You want to break even and get your credits. Yep.
I think that's about it, man. You guys got anything else? You want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, you gotta just skip my joke, huh? You don't want it? That's what it is. You gonna take this joke. So I got one though. It says, a pun walks into a room and kills 10 people. Pun intended.
So we had a great episode last week, and we hope the listeners will enjoy this episode. Who wants to go first this week?
That was a good one, man. That was a good one.
I had your back last week. I can't. Nah, I get
it. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Pun.
Yeah. Got it.
Intended.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you understand that I got it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because is that what you meant by the joke?
Got it because it was funny and you didn't laugh. So I'm making sure that my delivery wasn't off with it, and that you actually got the joke. So that's all.
Yeah, I got it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of hashtags, bring back Sophie.
And getting it did not help. Just for the record.
So who's going first?
I guess I'll kick it off this week, since I don't think, did I ask a question last week?
No, you didn't.
Okay. Let me see, how do I want to do this? I'm going to start off saying, did you guys get to watch This Is Us this week?
I think so, yeah.
Buff, did you catch it this week?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd y'all think of the episode?
You probably don't want my opinion.
Let's make sure we're talking about the same episode. And so when you say caught up, the one where he was like going to see his mom,
yeah.
that had passed and they were flashing back. Okay, all right, just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go to. Is that the question though? Is that the question?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kind of going into it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw it.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it wasn't one of the better episodes of This Is Us.
Okay, I can accept that. So the reason I asked is because it always has me thinking, and it actually made me think about your question from last week too, Buff, where you were talking about cheating. How cheating affects everyone, or does it affect everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a firm belief that our past or things we experience affects us long term. Not even just, in that situation, his mom being in an abusive relationship and him having to take his mom out of that, and how it affected his brother, how it affected everybody. And it made me think about not necessarily growing up in a house like that, but how our past really affects us, running from our past. And one of the big takeaways from the show was the fact that as much as he loved his mom and wanted to be this, we all, I think, can agree that he's a great husband and father, but then, there's some lacking as a son, right?
Yeah.
But in the show, Jack always loved his mom. They had a standing 6:00 call every Sunday. But that was pretty much the extent of their relationship. And a large part came from they were so much hurt that when they got together that they reminded each other of that hurt. And so they were both trying to escape their past. And I think a lot of people try to do that. I think we try to do that to a certain extent where, it made me think about that whole, as kids, I don't want to be like my parents when I grow up. I don't want to be like this person. Everybody has experiences throughout life. And Jack's end result was he and his mom both built new lives, trying to escape their past. Do you think that you guys have experienced that, where parts of you want to escape the negative images of your past and therefore you separated yourself like that? I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to grow. So these are things I'm going to do to make myself a better husband, father, all that stuff. And then the more you lean towards this new life, the further you took yourself away from that old life. Does that make sense?
I believe so. I don't know if I would use the word escape, but I know I've talked about Daddy-Daughter Day before on this show, and the reason I do it. And one of the reasons I do it is because, as the only child, full disclosure, I have a sister, but we didn't grow up in the same household. And she was like at least 10 years older than me. So growing up as an only child, I wanted to spend a lot of time with my dad. My dad, Pops was a Rolling Stone. He was out there in the streets. He was doing his thing. And, so many times I would want to, hang out with him, but he would be too busy doing whatever it was he was doing. So I remember, I forget what age, but I made a vow to myself that when and if I had kids, that I would make sure I consciously spent time with them, like beyond just the regular being in the house every day, but like specifically set aside a day. And, when we had my daughter, that's what I did. We had Daddy-Daughter Day to where I would, plan out things that we would do that I knew she liked and just spend time with each other all day. And that's one of the things that I try to make sure. And even beyond Daddy-Daughter Day, like even when we were in the house, I would go in her room sometime and we would, I've played with dolls. I've drunk invisible tea before and and all that stuff, man. So I just wanted to try and be as involved as possible. So I don't know if that was like trying to forget or I think you said escape, Ferg, but I think I was trying to correct. For me, I was trying to correct things that I went through that I didn't get to do with my dad and do it with her.
But awesome. Like I tell you, and I don't know if the listeners heard, I remember you one of the reasons, and Norwood was another one, at the time when Z was pregnant with Skylar, and we didn't know the sex of the baby. And up until that point, I always wanted a son. I think most guys, their fear is having a daughter. And I just saw the energy and the love that you poured in. And when you talked about Jasmine, same with Norwood and the twins, and they were talking about Daddy-Daughter Day. And I'm like, man, I could see myself doing that. I could see myself doing Daddy. And all of a sudden, I wanted a daughter out the blue. Like, I'm just like, if you'd have told me this 7.5 years ago, because Sky turned 7 in March, I would have been, nah, bro. No, I wanted 3 boys and a girl. And, and I wanted a girl to have a twin brothers just so he could be there to protect her and all that stuff. But I didn't want to, I was just scared of that. But my follow-up question to you, Buff, is while you were building that relationship and focusing on building this lifestyle with Jasmine and being this great dad, did you ever spend any additional time strengthening your relationship with your dad, the things that you might have missed out on with him? Or is it just all about focusing on this new life that you were trying to do?
I did not. Now, I could easily say part of that was logistics. Me being up here in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, and him still being in Mobile. But also, he wasn't the most, I hate to say stable, because that make it seem like he was damn near homeless. But no, like, you know, his cell phone number would be different at times. I would have to call around and get it. You know, like, it wasn't that easy to stay in touch with him. So no, I didn't work hard to build on it, but I think we had pretty much our relationship stayed the same. Once I became a teenager up until he passed, it stayed the same to where I didn't work overtime to, you know, build that relationship. But I didn't forget him. And listen, I know it sounds like I'm talking bad about him. My dad really instilled a lot of good things in me too. Like, he's one of the most loving people that I've ever known, which sounds crazy when I say how he wasn't there a lot. But it's hard to explain, but he was very, very caring. And I get a lot of that from him. Like, when I was with him, I definitely felt love. And I think that's why I wanted so much of it, you know, because I really enjoyed being with him. So when we did talk, whenever I would come back to Mobile, I definitely made a point to try and go see him. But, you know, looking back on it, the effort could have been more. And it's kind of like what you say, like, I was spending, like, when we did go to Mobile, I wanted to make sure I was, you know, showing Jasmine, you know, where I grew up and everything like that, and spending time with her, to where going to see him may have taken a backseat at times like that. So, yes, to answer your question somewhat, I probably could have did better, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I'll say for me, it's definitely you start to kind of want to do more, want to be better, want from where you grew up, and you start distancing yourselves. We talk about, like, when do you cut a friend off, right? And yeah, that's kind of one of the things. It's like, yeah, okay, I can't hang with y'all no more. The things y'all are doing, or we did back in the day, I can't do anymore, right? Like, you know, I can't smoke because I'm in the military. Like, I just can't do that. And so I'm not going to be doing it. Yeah, I got drill.
It's an inside joke, folks.
So that's the thing. Like, so yeah, you definitely, you know, start seeing a vision of where you want to be, and then you have to start kind of distancing yourselves from the things that are, you know, in your past. And I'll say even to the point where I rarely go back to Mobile, right? It's like I created this life, and I put this bubble around myself, my emotions, my kids, and everything. And going into what I feel almost is like, when you go to Mobile, if I don't go just see my immediate sister's mom, that type of thing, you add a huge dynamic of just, I don't know, chaos is what it almost feels like. When you go to Mobile, it feels like chaos. And so that's a lot of why I didn't go to Mobile or as much once I started having kids and getting older. I mean, granted, it's time and everything else, but along with that, when I went to Mobile, I was really focused on, okay, I'm going to see my sisters, I'm going to see my mom, and then I'm, you know, chucking the deuces, I'm heading back out or whatever. And so thinking back on it now, it does seem like I just kind of distanced myself. I didn't mean to. You know, it wasn't a conscious effort of me saying, I'm not going to Mobile, I'm not going to hang out in Tomanville, I'm not going to hang out in Pritchard or whatever. But it was just, I had a reason to go. I went for that reason, and I stuck to that reason, and then I left the city. And it was never this thing where I'm gonna just go hang out in Tomanville just to hang out in Tomanville, which it sounds horrible now just talking about it and thinking about it, but because I love Tomanville, I love Pritchard, yeah. I love where I grew up, and I love the things that we did while we were there. But it's just this my point in life, or my time in life right now, didn't really fit with that, and it didn't make sense to add that chaos, is what I like to call it, into the mix.
Ferg, Rozzy gave my answer better than I did, and it's like listening to him, it's like, yo, you know what? Because there would be times like I couldn't catch up with my dad or wanted to see him, and, you know, whatever reason I couldn't, and it wasn't a big deal to me. It was like, you know, catch him next.
You were cool with the relationship, so that's and it worked. And that's the thing about it is, like, in the show, he talked to his mom every Sunday at 6. It was like checking the box. You know, I went home, you know, I went to Mobile, I saw my dad, or I didn't see him, I spoke to him, or whatever the case may be. But it was nothing. It didn't build on what was already there. But at the same time, your new life, there was it was continual growth. Like you became a better father, a better husband, all those things. We talked about Jasmine, but you do a lot with Tabitha and stuff, Byron. I look up to a lot of the things you do with her as well. And it's, for both of you, Rise, you talk about Mobile as a whole, even the quote unquote good relationships we had, Byron with your mom, Rise with your parents, was there still at some point over time distance still created because as you grew or that new life took precedent, did you start kind of putting that old life more on a back burner, or it kind of lost a lot of its priority in your life? Does that make sense too?
It does, and I mean, but I think that's because time is finite, right? Like you only got so much time to build relationships and everything like that. You can't build 100, 200 relationships to the point of your wife and kids, right? And so there's stratas, there's friend layers, I guess is the best. Like you got an inner circle of friends that you build with and you do everything with, and you got a little further out on the friend circle that I see you when I see you. We hang out. If I'm in Mobile, I'll let you know that I'm in Mobile and I'm going somewhere, but I'm not driving to your spot to see you. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be here. Come link up with me type thing. And then there's that larger group of, hey, classmate, you know what I mean? It's like we knew each other back in high school. Mm-hmm. We see each other at events. We cool, but maybe social media, but that's it. Like, and so I think that's the thing is being okay with putting people in those buckets or in those strata and just saying that's where you live. And it could be family members that's in that classmate strata of I see you when I see you. I see you at family events. I see you at the family reunion, or whatever, but that's where it is. And so I think it's okay to that person was really close to you growing up. And as you grew older and more people took that center stage, that they got pushed to one of those other layers.
Yep. And I know this episode just hit hard. I mean, not hard. It made me think a lot, just because we're at that age where we're so many things that happen. We're losing and lost loved ones, Mm-hmm. We've had those situations. And I think one of the things I admired about this episode was when he got to know his mother through her life, her new life, right? And I don't think either one of you were like that, where you were so, estranged from them, where it's like you just found out like my mom had a cat. It wasn't that, but it was like it's you're finding out things about their life, or I'm assuming you probably found out things about their life, past and present. At the time that you're like, my mom salsa dance. Like it was. Did it make you think like, man, I didn't know them like I thought I knew them? Or there was something like, man, I wish I would have took a little second to get to know her. I would have loved to go salsa dancing with her or do this. And like, were those things that you were finding out? It's like, man, I thought I knew this person, or I thought I was spending time, and I realized that maybe I put some of that relationship on the back burner, or there could have been a little more effort because there were so many things that I missed out on. It could be a yes, it could be a no, but that's what I took up. That's what I was thinking about for the whole episode. Cause when I talk about the Fergusons and how my mom and my siblings interact, it's just kind of like we were almost like Jack, where that I talk to my mom, we have a 10-minute conversation that is great for us. Mm-hmm. My mom and I get on the phone for about 5 minutes, and it's just it's a lot of love, but it's a bunch of kind of like, well, how are the kids? How's this? But it's never those things. So
mm-hmm. it definitely felt like a chore at times, calling my mom. But it's also spoiler alert, by the way, like we're giving out some details on that episode. So spoiler alert on This Is Us. But yeah, I think with Jack and his mom, that was a lot of extreme. Like there was nothing, like he was learning. I think he was like 13 years or something without seeing her and stuff. So it wasn't that extreme. But I think one of the things about death, when someone close to you passes, is that I think you will almost always look back and ask yourself, could you have done things better? Could you have called more, seen them more, like that? So I definitely try not to do that to myself. One of my best memories by living up here in DC is surprising her for Mother's Day, like calling her, wishing her happy Mother's Day and stuff like that. And then like 2 minutes later, I walk in the door and she had no clue that we were coming down there. So I did my best to stay as close as I could to it. But like I said, you always going to say, man, maybe I could have called, like if you called 3 times a week, maybe I could have called 4 or 5 times a week. You know what I mean? So that part is inevitable, but not extreme like Jack and his mom.
For me, I'll go real quick. So yeah, I kind of gave him my answer. It just made me really think about, because growing up, you know, even though my stepdad raised me, my biological father wasn't there. And my stepdad was my role model. When him and my mom split up, they split up in there were some dark moments, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, my idea of being a father and a husband, you know, I was Mr. I'm never getting married. I don't want to have kids, because I didn't want to have that same effect on somebody else, or potential effect on somebody else. So a lot of the things I missed out on, or I thought I missed out on, I've tried to create and fill that gap for myself, my wife, and my kids, that I personally think I've tried to escape some of my past a little too much. Where, like, I talk to my mom all the time, but it's kind of like some of those Jack conversations where it's very superficial. It's not even rushed. It's just that's our norm, you know? What's funny is Z probably has better conversations with my mom than my mom calls Z telling her stuff that she don't tell me. I'll be like, well, your mama said this is, and that's like, well, she could have called me. Even with, you know, my dad, my biological dad and my stepdad, you know, do I call them as much? I have that opportunity, but I don't take advantage of it. And kind of like you, Byron, some parts of it is just, you know, they are who they are. You know, if I call them too much, they might, you know, I could see my biological dad probably screening my calls just because it just makes him uncomfortable talking to people, you know. But at the same time, am I doing my part, or am I just falling kind of like the assumption like, well, they're not going to do this. It's not going to change. It is what it is. And I accept that, because Jack was very accepting.
You have to also look at, are you comfortable in what the relationship is? Like with your stepdad, I feel like you're comfortable with that relationship, right? Like you and Kenny are cool. Like you don't have to add calls in to make yourself feel like, okay, my relationship's growing, or I'm trying to get my relationship back somewhere, because you're good where it is.
Yes and no. I'm good because that's where I'm comfortable and it works for me. My question is, I have 2 kids. If I had that same relationship with my kids, would I be fulfilled? And honestly, the answer is no. Right? I want my kids to be able to call me and talk to me about anything. I want to be a bigger part of their life. And I think that's what it comes down to. Just because we're comfortable with it doesn't mean it's, you know, I'm 40. God, doggone it, Rozzy. I'm 41. And so I've become comfortable with this, but it's not good enough for my family, you know, so that's my take.
All right. Speaking of relationships, I wanted to ask you guys this. I believe it was the I Ain't Sleeping on No Couch episode where Ferg said that he can't get in trouble. There's no such thing as getting in trouble with his wife. So I kind of wanted to take that and form a questioning around it, in that you guys in relationships, marriage and serious relationships, is there anything that you forbid your significant other to do? I'm not talking about obvious stuff like don't go get a train ran on you, don't go have sex with somebody. I know that. But I'm saying, like, is there anything you forbid them to do as far as like having lunch with the opposite sex? Or there's certain clothes when she's going out with her girls? Or there's certain outfits that you would tell her, no, you're not wearing that out? Curfew. Does your significant other have a curfew? Like, listen, don't be coming up in my house at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to know, since you can't get in trouble, are there any, like, I guess you could say, rules that you expect your spouse or significant other to follow?
So you're asking, can they get in trouble? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
I can't get in trouble, but they can.
So let me clarify.
Okay.
Z can get pissed off at me. Z's been pissed off at me. You know, like, it happens. But at the end of the day, we deal with those circumstances. And then I have to be willing to deal with the consequences of my actions. But I'm not walking around like, oh, I'm about to get in trouble. Like, you know, I'm about to be sleeping on the couch. It's just like, if I do this, I know she can be angry. But same goes for me. So it really goes to things you wouldn't want me to do or I wouldn't want her to do. I don't want her to do anything that I wouldn't do or vice versa. So, but also that's a cheap way out, right? The easy way out. Also the things that like, don't do anything you've got upset with me doing. Like, we're two different people. So I'm a people's person. You know, if Z was more of a people's person, then like, quote unquote, the no new friends rule, right? Like, no new friends. I'm personable. I have God knows how many friends and stuff like that. Like the fact that I'm cool with the reason Bruce and Alexis met is because when I go to Atlanta, Alexis was one of the first people I call, right? Alexis has been my friend for years. I have those female friends. Z doesn't have male friends like that. She never had male friends like that. So all of a sudden she starts traveling. It's like, well, I got to go call Bob when I go to Atlanta. Who the hell is Bob? You know what I mean? It's like you've never been one of those people that had friends like that. So all of a sudden when you make changes that, you know, change the dynamics of our relationships, then that's not cool. Like if she would have been cool with Bob from day one, then I can't have a problem with Bob. Like I can't have a problem with something that has always been a part of you. We have issues when we have to start questioning your intentions or why all of a sudden. So Z has always been a very conservative dressing person. Like she still has style. I love my wife's style, super dope, but she's not going to do wear some of the things other women wear. Then all of a sudden, if she starts wanting to wear those things, or she wants to start going out and staying out to 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, it's like, the question is why? So now we have to have a conversation on why do you need this now? Why do you feel the need to do certain things or vice versa? I don't go out like that. So when I go out, I might go out. I don't have a curfew, but I come home at a decent time because I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't really want her coming home this late. And there's no reason for me to stay out this late. But then there's like, if we go to Atlanta for Risey's birthday and we're hanging out, this is, you know, it's Atlanta. It's a trip. You know, if Z went to Atlanta with her homegirls and they hung out all night, it is what it is. Do I want that? No, but I get it. That's kind of part of the thing. But if she goes out every week in Houston all of a sudden and she wants to stay out to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I need to know what the hell is going on. What did I miss? What do you need in your life that made you change and need these certain things? So those are the big things. We kind of have freedom to be ourselves. But when we start stepping outside of ourselves is when we start questioning what's really going on in our relationship or going on in your life. So
for me, yes, she can get in trouble. Because, you know, like Ferg was one that said I can't get in trouble because I said I can get in trouble. I mean, I get in trouble. I'm not sleeping on the couch.
No.
We gonna be mad at each other. You gonna put the cover between us and push it down, and you stay on your side, I stay on my side. But you ain't putting me off of my bed that I paid for. So,
and that's what I mean by in trouble. Because when you're in trouble, that means somebody has something over you, and they can
punish you.
Punish you. Like my thing is like you can be mad, I can be mad. We gonna be sitting here mad together. I understand.
Well, I guess that's it. Like that is me in trouble. Like her being mad is me in trouble. Like if she's mad at me, I'm in trouble. Now, how that plays out, what happens, what's the ramifications for it, what's the consequences, that's totally different. But I'm in trouble, and I know I'm in trouble. If I do something that she doesn't like, I know I'm gonna get in trouble. Like I'm in trouble with Jason right now because I've been hanging out all weekend. I think I talked to her like twice. So I'm in trouble. Like I know I'm in trouble. But, you know, it is what it is. It was like, that's the situation that happened, and I've been going hard, and so, you know, I'm going to have to make it up to her somehow. I know that I'm in trouble, and I know that I got to do something to make it up. So, yeah, that I think it's totally fine to have those situations, and totally fine and healthy in a relationship to be in trouble. And the difference is, do you respect your partner enough to identify or know that you're in trouble and want to make it right? Like the issue I think comes in when you're in trouble and you don't give a like that's when it's an issue and that you're not in a healthy relationship. So I'm totally fine with being in trouble.
So that's my question, is because if they're unreasonable, you can get in trouble for the smallest thing. Like you're in trouble because
we don't need to be together. We don't need to be together. That's it. It's like if the the needle that moves you to me being in trouble is to the point where it's annoying me, then, you know, at that point, we don't need to be together anymore.
Because I've seen a couple where a wife, she's like, the toilet seat, we joke about it all the time. She's like, I called him and let him know he left the toilet seat up. Like, he was on his way to work. I'm like, he was in trouble. Like, he was being reprimanded by. My thing is, I don't like having Z upset with me. I don't like, and so, but just because something you just don't like, because we can agree to this. What happens when we agree to disagree? Like, it's fine. But you're in trouble because you didn't do something that she wanted. She said you need to do A and you wanted to do 2, and you did 2, and now you're in trouble. But you had just as much right to do 2, but now you're in trouble. Now you have to recognize that you're in trouble. Fix it because she wanted you to do the A. And it's like, no, I'm grown. Like, we can agree to disagree, and you might be upset, and I'm cool with you being upset because we both have the right to want what we want. Now, I'll never disrespect you. I will never intentionally try to harm you. Like, those are things, if you know my intent is right, but just because I got to walk on eggshells because you feel I should have did A, nah, man, like, I'm going to do 2.
I think you're kind of conflating 2 different things, though. Like, yes, there are those times that, like, you know, I'm not going to get in trouble because she wanted me to do something one way and I did it a different way as long as it got done. Like, at that point, yes, I don't care if you're mad. Like, I'm not in trouble at that point. You're mad.
Okay, let's take your situation. You call Jacelyn all the time. You go one weekend and you don't talk to her. You talk to her twice. You didn't talk to her 3 times. You're in trouble. What? Like, I always do the right thing. And the one time I don't talk to you as much as you want me to, I'm in trouble? What do you think I'm out here doing? Like, my things, I have a problem with that because all of a sudden I'm good with you 99% of the time. I do what you want. I give what you want. And all of a sudden, because you set this expectation that we didn't sign no contract, a roommate agreement. It was just, this is kind of what we do.
But bro, that is what a relationship is, bro. Like, my whole point or my whole point being in this relationship is to make her happy. Like, that is bottom line what I want to do in this relationship. And so if I'm doing something that doesn't make her happy, I have 2 choices, right? I need to try to fix it, or I acknowledge that I did it and you know, I need to do something to kind of make it up or whatever, or I don't care. And I think I can go down either one of those paths. But for either one of those, she was mad. I'm in trouble. Now I need to figure out how I want to address it or whatever. So, and going back to Bluff's original question about, like, do we have things that, like, we have rules that can get them in trouble? I think that's kind of it's a case by case basis, right? Like, when you talk about wearing clothes or whatever, I got to see it on her. Where's she going? Like, if she's half naked, but she's gonna be with me and we going somewhere that, you know, it makes sense, then it might be all right, you know. But if she's half naked going out with her girls, like, for her sake, she's gonna be out till 3:00. I don't like that on you. I think that's too revealing or whatever. I'm gonna make it known, and she doesn't necessarily get in trouble, but she has to take into consideration that I don't like it.
She wears it anyway.
She wears it anyway. Then she needs to know that I'm mad about it, and she has to figure out what she's going to do. She's in trouble. Okay. Yes, she's in trouble with that. She's in trouble with me.
Here's the thing. I think there's a difference between your wife being mad versus you being in trouble. And for me, I'm in trouble if I do something and I know I was wrong. Like, looking at it, like when she break it down to me and I say, okay, I was wrong, then yeah, I'm in trouble. Versus I do something, she gets mad at it, and I reasonably think, man, that's some BS. Then she just mad. I ain't in trouble. She mad, and she gonna get over it. So to me, there's a difference. Everybody has a glass of, I ain't taking this bleep anymore. Now, for some people, all it takes is one drop and it start overflowing. For other people, it's the size of the Grand Canyon, and Niagara Falls can pour in it for 5 years straight, and it'll never overflow. And then there's everything in between. So when you're with someone, you need to have a good idea of how close they are to that glass overflowing. And same with you. So you don't when you do certain things, you need to know if it's something that they can get over easily versus it might be their breaking point. And so for me, there are things that I try not to tell her no. I think we both try to do that. I try my best not to tell her, you can't do this, versus, okay, if you do this, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be upset with it. And then she decides on whether or not she wants to deal with that. Our big thing now is I've talked about it before, she has a YouTube channel now. She's trying on these different outfits. And there has been some, you're not going to post that. Or and what she's done now. And because we have had discussions, I think in the very beginning, she posted the video. And when I looked at it, I was like, you thought that was okay? And so now it's like she lets me see the video as an entirety. I point out what I don't like or don't care for, and then I leave it up to her on whether or not she wants to change it. But I try not to. I don't want to be a husband. She's a grown. I married her because obviously I think she's a reasonable person. She's a grown, reasonable adult. I'm not finna say you better not do this. You can't do that. What I'll say is, you going where with your girls and you wearing that? I don't think you should wear that. I'm not going to be happy if you wear that. And then she decides. So I don't know. So yes, she can get in trouble, but at the end of the day, it's all about what we're willing to deal with. Some people, like I think, Roger, you said it, some people don't care if they get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, so there have been times she's gotten mad at me. There have been times she's gotten mad at me and I thought I was wrong. And I chose to sleep in the other room. I ain't sleeping on the couch. We got 2 other bedrooms. I sleep in one of those. But if I think I'm wrong and she has a point, then yeah, I may sleep in another room or I may apologize or do whatever I can. Versus if I do something and I don't think I did anything wrong, she's just going to have to be mad and we get past it.
And I think that's where it is, Byron. I think so many people don't understand that the other person can be mad, and you have the right to want what you want the same way they have the right to want what they want. Mm-hmm. And I think so many, being in the doghouse, happy wife, happy life, it throws a lot of, like men just bow down to whatever they want because you just don't want to have anger. Like, you're just going to do it just because. And women do it too. Like they have that overbearing husband where they feel like if they don't do exactly what he wants, then, life is going to be hell. And sometimes we have to just learn to, we're not going to agree. Now, I will take a step back. You're right. There are things that are just absolutely off the plate where if you step past this, there's no coming back. Or there needs to be something that needs to happen. And I guess when I look at trouble is like, by the time you get in trouble, I might be that person that has one drop. Like if you get in trouble with me, then we probably need to have a real conversation. Because there's so many things like I want you to have the freedom to be you. Mm-hmm. Now, I also have my concerns, but I want you to have the freedom to be you. But when you do this, I don't know, maybe getting in trouble, there's some things you can't come back from. Yeah. Like, I just can't look at you the same way because the things that get you in trouble, sleeping on the couch might be my best bet. Like it's, so if I sleep on the couch, I'm good. Like, we've gone that far, but I don't think.
I just, before we get to the next question, one bit of advice I'd give people, I'm no expert, but this is what we have followed throughout our 20 plus years together as a couple. Do what works for you. Okay, what your rules or whatever, how y'all get down may be strict to other couples, but do what works for you, because it does you no good to say, well, I don't care if my man does this or I don't care if my woman does that. Yeah, you don't care. I care. So do what's best for you guys. Don't let anyone else tell you what your rules and regulations should be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what makes us, like, going back to what I said, it's your whole point in the relationship is make the other person happy. Yeah. So if they're following whatever rules y'all set or whatever, if you're following those to make the other person happy so that your relationship can be happy. And I think that's where that happy wife, happy life and happy spouse, whatever it is.
Happy spouse, happy house is what I would believe in. Because what I'm saying is it's a lot of times it's one-sided. It's cheaper to keep it. It's teaching you we're taught as men, when you get married, you might as well just, throw up your hands and just whatever she wants, you're right, she's wrong. Like we hear that cliche stuff growing up all the time. Like, dog, what she right, you wrong, makes no sense to argue. And it's just
you know who did that? Gen X. Gen X did that because I'm for real. It's their fault. Everything is Gen X's fault. Gen X taught you to not actually have an open, honest conversation, not be able to like go through and conflict resolve whatever's going on. They just say, "What throw your hands up, walk away." Now, the problem with that is Gen X didn't step out like the quiet generation did and traditionalists did. So they had, traditionalists, they had the whole other family on the other side. They'll walk out and leave for 3 days. Gen X actually stayed in the house, and so that's why they end up sleeping on the couch. But again, it goes back to conflict resolution. Gen X, y'all messed it up.
Hey, y'all check out Tabby T on YouTube, by the way. I mentioned her YouTube channel. Check that out.
Oh, man. Man, I had one more point about that, and I forgot that. Go ahead. Oh, I had an example. I was talking to one of my friends who got divorced. He's divorced now. And I always tell people, when we said we had an episode we were talking about love is overrated, I'm all about happiness. Like, you said the key is to make somebody happy. Like, I've seen people love people to death. They never question their love for that person. But the question is, can that person make you happy, and can you make them happy? Mm-hmm. But it's a two-way street. Like you were saying, your goal is to make her happy. But if her goal is not to make you happy as well, you're going to spend the rest of your life just trying to make her happy.
Yep.
And that's why I push back. It's like, she has to want you to be happy just as much. And with that happy wife, happy life always talks about her being happy. And I know men who, I was talking to one dude and he's just like, Ferg, when I realized the only way I'm ever going to be happy is not to be with her. Like that's a deep conversation, because she cannot make him happy. And the thing about it is, when you sit down and think about, man, I love my wife, but if I stay with her, I'll never be happy again in my life, or vice versa. That's why I was talking about, like, they have to want it just as much as you do. You can't keep just giving in and losing yourself. If they're not wanting to make you happy like you want to make them happy, you are in for a long ride. And I feel like there's no worse feeling than almost like if you ever been in a dead end job, where it's like, man, I gotta take whatever your worst job is and think about that's gonna be the job for the rest of my life. That's what a marriage where you can never be happy is. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I talk about being, happy and, can't get in trouble, because I don't want me just answering to all the things that make you happy. What about me? Rising.
But guys, actually, in the sake of time, bro, I think I'm going to defer my question this week.
Okay.
Because, once we close, we're going to hit almost over an hour already. So, but one thing that I did want to talk through real quick, I talked about, thanking everybody for supporting us and everything like that. I want to make sure that everybody understands that Three Brothers No Sense is barbershop style. It literally is. We talk about everything under the sun. And so we appreciate you guys rocking with us, from talking about Peacemaker and Guardians of the Galaxy and all the nerd stuff that I bring up, to like we just had these very serious relationship conversations. So, welcome to the barbershop. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Thanks for coming back. If you listened to us and rock with us before, we love you guys, and just keep rocking with us.
I got quite a bit. One is from a coworker. I won't name him because I don't know if he wants to be named. But I got a coworker that I don't know how often he listens to the show, but he has listened to the show. And I don't know what episode it was, but I think, Ferg, you said something about we're Black excellence, or I'm Black excellence. And so he told another coworker of ours, he said, they had the nerve to call that ninja Black excellence. He ain't Black excellence. He just a ninja with a good job. So I want you to know that I constantly replay that. It keeps me humble, brother. That humbles me every time I replay that in my head, because you are mostly right. At the end of the day, I just got a pretty good doggone job, man. I'm no better than anybody out there. And I hope we don't ever come across like that on this show, because we definitely try to be as humble as possible. Besides him,
and hold on, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to disagree with you, dog. Wholeheartedly, man. because it has nothing to do about your financial status or everything. Yeah. Dude, you are a great husband. You're a great father. You're a great provider. You are a great friend. I mean, I don't know what else they want from you. And we're all growing. We're all becoming better. But a lot of times when you look at what the world needs more of, it's the things that I see you guys doing. And I'm not saying we're perfection. I'm just saying we're some of the best at what we do. We need more of this. We need more Black men talking about what it is to be married in a relationship, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Being parents, and Black dads are out there and we're raising our kids, but we got to talk about it. Having a good job, being a provider, starting from the bottom. Now we're here, bruh. I was there with the bottom with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so don't let anybody ever take that away from you. The problem is they don't want to hear us saying it. They don't want to hear you saying it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. It's still funny to me.
Oh, it's still hilarious, bro.
Speaking of coworkers, though, obviously, again, my coworker Eugene Goodman. I know you hate it. It blew up as much as it did, bro. They started back bothering you and stuff, but hopefully it's died down for you. We can't thank you enough. I don't think you realize how much you did for this podcast, dog. When I tell you the numbers that episode got, like, I'm talking like 5 times as many listens as our previous highest listened to episode. That's what you did for us. So thank you. The voicemails, I want you to know, if you're listening, for the people that left us voicemails, I want you to know we heard them. We're getting to the stuff that you mentioned. And last but not least, especially the new listeners, we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, 3 Brothers No Sense. We have a great time on there. Post a lot of jokes, a lot of good content. And now we're active on Twitter. We wasn't that active on Twitter before, but after that episode, we got some heavy hitters following us now. So we're on Twitter at Brothers Sense. Didn't have enough characters to put the 3 and the no in there. So we're at Brothers Sense. If you put in 3 Brothers No Sense, it'll still come up. But follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a great time. And, just check us out.
All right, I'm going to piggyback off my co-host. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening. Remember to go back and listen to previous episodes. If this is your first or second or third show, we have over 100 episodes, so hundreds of hours of content for you to listen. Go to our Facebook page. Go follow us on Instagram. Byron does a great job keeping our followers engaged. Go to our 3 Brothers No Sense website and leave us a message. Go look at the merch, whatever. And if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, please bring it to us. You're always welcome. I'm stealing that now, Razi. Welcome to the barbershop. Pull up a chair. You're always welcome. We are here. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to get a good barber on the show very soon. And I think that's it, man. 3 Brothers No Sense. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Inspire you listeners. 10 p.m. Check us out.